This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
I heard you've been looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous. Your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here. You tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here. Now I'm standing here. Don't question my heart. Don't question the fire that burns inside.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another episode of Extreme Resurrection, where tonight we are going to be covering ECW on Sci-Fi from December 6, 2007 and December 11, 2007. But as always, I have my co-host with me, Steve Riddle. Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It's crazy to think we're almost to the end of what's been a very tumultuous year for not just ECW, but for WWE as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the second half of ECW has been interesting. Now they are doing these they're doing like the SmackDown exchange here. Then SmackDown has been tagged, like it's like the tag team partner to ECW here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they do their both their tapies together and they do the house shows together, so it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I forget what they say it. Like I know they're like borrowing superstars. Like I forget like what the actual term they use. It's like the exchange program. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I think they just call it like a talent exchange.
Yeah, the talent exchange. Yep. Mm-hmm. So we have ECW December 6, 2007, and we start off with a promo that just came out of the blue. Nothing like really led up to it, except except for the fact that like CM Punk has been feuding with Big Daddy V, and but it's mostly been like Kane, Big Daddy V, and Mark Henry feuding together. But this was a little weird. Like it just comes out of the blue. It's Matt Striker. He's backstage with Big Daddy V and Mark Henry. He tells CM Punk to pick his poison, so he's either gonna face Big Daddy V or Morrison, or not Morrison, or Mark Henry here tonight. And we're live in Florence, South Carolina. We have a tag team match. But before we get to the tag team match, what did you think of this promo, Steve?
Yeah, it was weird. So Punk was on that previous SmackDown, and it was announced there that he would face either Henry or V, his choice. And yeah, it just seems kind of weird that like you said, we've seen this little thing with Henry and V feuding with Kane, and now all of a sudden Punk's being thrown into it. I mean, I guess it's good because Punk really had no direction at this point, even as a champion. And you almost kind of wonder if maybe his title reign's starting to end up on fumes here, that he has no legit challenger, so he's being thrown into this this mix here.
Yeah, there was no real number one contender, and we are going into the Armageddon pay-per-view as well. The last thing we saw with CM Punk in this ECW title reign was that he faced The Miz and Morrison in a triple threat match and retained the title at Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even then, Morrison and Miz were pretty much being transitioned into their tag title runs. So, I mean, even then, that you figured neither of them were going to win the title at that point.
No. So we'll see what happens with CM Punk as we wrap up 2007 here. But like I said, he has to pick his poisons, either Big Daddy V or Mark Henry. We have a tag team match coming up. It is John Morrison and The Miz versus the Major Brothers. So we're kicking it off with the tag team champions, the SmackDown tag team champions. Miz and Brett start off. Hip toss by Brett. Double team by the Major Brothers. Crossbody to Miz by Brian. Front flip by Brett to Morrison. Flapjack by Miz and Morrison to Brian. Tag to Brett. Backdrop to Morrison. Brian goes into the announce table, and then a corkscrew neckbreaker to Brett for the win. For this matchup, I gave it a star and 3/4. It was a good, fun tag team match here. So star and 3/4 for me.
I went star and a half. Kind of funny seeing the Majors pop back up here. We saw them kind of arrive out of nowhere over the spring. Here on ECW, then they just kind of got transferred over to SmackDown, really quickly, and then they haven't been used that much on SmackDown either. So, just kind of random showing up back up here. But I thought they give Morrison and Miz a good, decent little match here. Morrison and Miz have really been kind of growing as a team. You can see their chemistry is getting better. They have that really good double team move where they seem like they're going to do a double back suplex, but then like flapjack the guy, which I thought always looked really good. And they got a little spirited comeback there by the Majors before a little miscommunication between the two leads to Morrison getting the pin. So, again, decent match here. Good win as Morrison and Miz continue their rise as a team.
Mm-hmm. Now we have CM Punk. He's backstage. Punk says that he doesn't care who he has to face. He's like, heads I lose, tails I lose. I'll even let Matt Striker pick the opponent. And he even brings up General Manager Armando Estrada, who we haven't seen on camera in a while. So he's like, oh, have anybody pick it because I don't care. I lose either way. So CM Punk is letting Stryker decide the fate of him, the fate of Punk here tonight.
Yeah, standard promo here by Punk. Like you said, he doesn't care either way. He knows he's probably going to get his ass. He's going to, give it his all anyway. So he figured I don't, I'll let you choose my poison in essence.
Yeah, so we'll see who Matt Striker picks tonight. And now we have a mixed tag match. It's Kelly and Balls Mahoney versus Kenny Dykstra and Victoria. And I was wondering if Victoria and Kenny were really dating here, or they just became like a tag team on SmackDown here, because I know it's part of the talent exchange going on here as well, but they seem to be very into each other.
Yeah, I think they had allied prior to this, so I think it was just I don't know if they were dating behind the scenes, if this was just an on-screen thing, but I actually, when I saw this match, I had forgotten that Dykstra was even still around. I thought he'd been released by this point.
I know. Even I said too. It was like, he's still around. I was like, there's nothing for him here. So, but again, there's nothing for Kevin Thorne, and he's still around. But we'll see what happens there as well. We have need to balls his head and a drop kick, tag to Victoria, a tag to Kelly, a tilt-a-whirl and clothesline to Victoria. Then we have just kicks to Kelly, tag to Balls signature punches a Hurricanrana by Kelly. Balls rolls up Kenny for the win. For this matchup, I gave it a star and a half. It was fine too. Kenny gave a kick to Kelly. Victoria was fine here. The tilt-a-whirl seemed a little bit botched because it seemed like she was going for the Hurricanrana, but she overthrew it a little bit. So I gave it a star and a half.
Yeah, I want a star and a quarter. My first thought was when I saw this match, is like, why is Layla not in this match? Like, she's been feuding with Kelly. Where's she? Why can't they just put her with some other person and have them in the team match? It just seemed really bizarre that Victoria's in here. I'm guessing they wanted somebody who can actually work to be with Kelly, because Kelly looked, halfway decent here with Victoria. Like, I agree. Like, Kelly does like that spinning head scissors, and Victoria almost got dropped right on her head. That could have been bad. And then later in the match, Kelly does go for a hurricanrana and again almost drops Victoria on her head. So clearly, Kelly needs a little bit of, still needs some seasoning. I mean, at least I'll give her this. She's at least, trying and making the effort. Other than that, it was, basic mixed tag fare. Balls and Kelly do end up getting the win. Kind of a bit of a weak finish there. Balls winning with a small package and not winning with his finisher.
Yeah, it's just a surprise win. And they're like, oh, how could that have happened? Victoria's like, how does this happen? And just like really like a little weird acting from Victoria and Kenny here.
Yeah.
So Shelton Benjamin comes to the ring. He promises to win, and he promises to raise the bar at ECW. And Jimmy Wang Yang comes out. So it's Shelton Benjamin versus Jimmy Wang Yang. Crucifix roll up by Yang for a 2 count. Big boot to Yang. Buckle bomb by Shelton. Spinning heel kick to Shelton. Shelton counters a crossbody to a gutbuster. And then a face buster to Yang for the win. For this matchup, I went 1.5 stars. It was good. Not very good offense from Yang, but he gets some good kicks in here. So that's why I said it was like, it's 1.5 stars.
Yeah, I went 1 star. I mean, it was pretty much a squash. Benjamin's promo, he's trying to put himself over as, a next big thing on SmackDown. But I mean, there's a reason why when it came to Shelton, why he never reached that next level is because he's obviously not a good promo. It looks like that little alliance with him and Burke is already over, which is kind of weird because I think Burke would have been a good hype man for him. But I think this is a good showcase for Shelton in ring. I mean, yeah, that buckle bomb was nasty. I think Seth Rollins maybe needs to take some pointers on that so as not to hurt somebody. And then, like you said, Yang got some offense there. I actually love that counter when Yang went for the crossbody and Shelton blocked it with the gut buster. I thought that was a really cool counter that you don't usually see. And then he finishes it off with the soon to be, hasn't been named yet, the soon to be named Pay Dirt. So another good win here for Shelton as he's starting to get himself on a little bit of a roll since coming over to ECW.
Yeah. And so now we have Kevin Thorne versus Jeff Lewis, and we'll see what transpires as Shelton Benjamin climbs or raises the bar, as he says, at ECW. But like I said, we have Kevin Thorne versus Jeff Lewis, local jobber. I call him jobber number 7 on the Kevin Thorne list here.
Might as well be.
Yeah, backbreaker to Lewis. A leg drop by Thorne, and then we have like a clothesline by Thorne, and then he goes like the torture rack backbreaker for the win. I gave it a 1/4 star. I wasn't 1/2 star, but I was like, this is a 1/4 star. It's nothing really. It's just it's a squash. So I went 1/4 star, but for Kevin Thorne, like he looks like he does have the look that I think Vince wants, like a big jacked up guy. The only problem is that they still have him in the vampire theme song.
Yeah, I went 1/4 star as well, and yeah, it's like he's got the theme song still in the name, but then he comes out here. He doesn't even have the singlet that he wore when we last saw him. Now he's got just normal tights, and he again just looks like if he didn't look like a generic wrestler before, he absolutely looks like one now. And they're still giving him these squash wins here. I think Lewis not kind of off step a little bit a couple of times, but and then an interesting finish there, like you said, the torture rack into the backbreaker instead of his usual original sin. But I will just say, and I did look ahead. This is actually the last time we see Kevin Thorne on TV here.
Damn it!
ECW. So he actually he does so in January of 2008. He goes back to OVW, competed there under his real name, Kevin Fertig, and then in the summer he went to FCW, reprised the Kevin Thorne name, and actually, and I didn't realize this, but apparently in around like the summer and the autumn, there were plans for him to actually come back up to the main roster as part of a faction to feud with the Undertaker. But that didn't happen because he ended up he had hip surgery in September, so that derailed that. And then in January 2009, he was offered a new contract, but he turned it down. And then he was eventually released on January 9th. He would then pretty much just work the indie scene from that point on. He did actually compete at a dark. He competed in a dark match for a TNA Impact taping on September 1st, 2009 under the name Serpents, but lost to Kip James. And then, like I said, he's pretty much just been in the indie scene. And actually, as of 2020, he currently works as a realtor in Indianapolis. So maybe in January when WWE's in Indy for the Rumble, maybe he'll show up at like one of those. If like GCW or anything does like a show that weekend, maybe he'll show up. Maybe they'll snag him in there. But yeah, that's it. But that's pretty much. But yeah, that's it for Kevin Thorne. It's a weird thing because I mean they obviously thought and highly enough of him to, give him two decent pushes on the main roster. I mean, first with the Mordecai character, and now again with this vampire character. Obviously, being on ECW was fine because it fit the whole sci-fi theme they were going for. They put him in the New Breed, and he has a good run there. He gets a WrestleMania payday. Which not a lot of other guys can say. But then after he gets out of the New Breed, and more particularly when after he loses Ariel, it was always just like start and stop with him. I mean, they give him a few squash wins, push him up a bit, he loses it to a big guy, and then he falls back a bit. Then he did the whole weird thing with Steven Richards, where he's like losing those matches, and then he finally wins, and then they strip him of his pretty much of his gimmick, but he still has the name. And it's just I don't know. I think and you're right. He has a good look, but he's just average in the ring, and I think that's ultimately what held him back. That he just never seemed to kind of put the extra effort in to really put himself over. Because he could have easily overcome these gimmicks. He's just I don't just feel like he never really stepped up. So I think he's just at the end of the day, he's just going to be a guy that he had a decent run, like I said. Got to be with the New Breed, got to be one of the stars for a bit. Like I said, got the Mania match, but ultimately he's always going to just be a guy that just never reached what could have been his full potential.
Yeah, I think I definitely spiraled a little bit after he lost Ariel. And when the New Breed all of a sudden just disbanded, it's like, well, now what do we do? Because when Kevin Thorne said, I'm out, I don't want to be a part of the New Breed anymore, I thought that was his way of saying I've been like let go from WWE. But then he's still around. He does lose to Steven Richards all those times and stuff. And then here I thought, oh, maybe this will be like, maybe this guy could be CM Punk's new opponent for the ECW title, because like I said, he looks jacked here. Like he looks like he's ready to go again.
Yeah, I'm surprised they never gave him even if it was just like a one-off on TV that they gave him a match with Punk. It's just they just I guess never thought that highly of him to do that, even just if it was to put Punk over.
Yep. So long, Kevin Thorne. It's been a pleasure. So now we have Big Daddy V, Mark Henry, and Stryker. They all come to the ring. Stryker says he will flip a coin to determine who will face CM Punk here, and it lands on tails. So that is Mark Henry. So Mark Henry gets the win here. I mean, I was wondering if they were trying to really like scheme it to be tails because they didn't want to see Big Daddy V again face CM Punk, and they really wanted Mark Henry here.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's crazy. Like V is, they pushed him so hard over the summer, but then after that No Mercy match, he's just been on a slow descent. And yeah, he's back in this like big feud here with Punk, but he's really kind of playing second fiddle to Henry.
Mm-hmm. So now we have a clothesline to Punk by Mark Henry. Kicks to Henry's knees. Punk is rammed into the post. Knees to Henry, but Henry shoves Punk down. Chops to Punk. Henry runs into the turnbuckle. And it looks like they were going to do the running knee and into the bulldog. He gets the running knee in, and he's ready to go for the bulldog. But then V comes into the ring and causes a disqualification, a Samoan drop to Punk by Big Daddy V. Kane comes out and chair shots to V and Henry. So Kane runs them off, but I guess the chair slipped out way too far. And it almost like hit the security guard in the crowd when they go and they do like the hits with Kane and Mark Henry going chair shot to chair shot. For the match, I went a half a star because what is CM Punk really gonna do against Henry? The ending was all right because Kane comes out, but other than that, what are they really going to do? They're not going to have CM Punk beat Mark Henry, and I don't think they were looking for Henry to pin Punk here cleanly as well. So I went a half a star for the DQ finish.
I did go star and a half. I thought it was, fine. I think, ever since he's come back, they've really, Henry, I think, has done a really good job in reestablishing himself as a, dominant monster heel. And it kind of shows here as he's, he dominates most of the match with Punk. Punk does get little spots. And I agree the DQ was a little bit weak. It's like, why is Big Daddy V having to save Henry when Henry can easily just, gain control just because of his size? They do put a good beat down on Punk there at the end of until Kane comes out to make the save. And yeah, it's that's that security guard got lucky there. Could have been a lot worse though if it was a fan that got hit with one of those chairs. So they're really lucky that nothing bad happened. But again, now it's like now. It feels like Punk's now just being inserted into this whole issue with Kane, Henry, and V, and he's still got and yet this is not going to probably lead to either Henry or V getting a title shot. So it's like, what's Punk really doing?
Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see what transpires as we get into our next episode here. And this is a very fun week. This is a very fun week for WWE, as the Raw before this episode here of ECW, it was Raw's 15th anniversary show, December 10th, 2007. That was at Bridgeport Arena at Harbor Yard in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I was actually there, Steve, for the Raw 15th anniversary show. So I saw the return of Stone Cold. I saw Stone Cold come out. I saw the reuniting of Evolution for one night. One of the funniest things ever was when Hornswoggle came out and then the Great Khali came out. My friends go, "Is that the guy from The Longest Yard, that big guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's him." They're like, "No way." And we saw Hulk Hogan say, but that was the funniest thing my friend ever said. Is that the guy from The Longest Yard?
Yeah, that's a good episode. Kind of funny they did this in this night and not in January when the actual 15th anniversary would have been. But I guess they didn't think there was going to be time to do so in January, but at least they were able to do something special. And yeah, a lot of big names showed up that night. I mean, you talked about some of them, Austin, Hogan, but I mean, you had the little cool battle royal with like all the legends in there with some really random names. RVD made his return after a brief, since we haven't seen him since One Night Stand. You had the cool little showdown with Bischoff and Jericho, and of course, at the beginning, they were going to do the family, the McMahon family portrait, and Triple H came out and kind of running down Vince and bringing out like his old flames. He brought and one of them happened to be Sunny. So and she looked pretty good that night. So
oh, she did.
yeah, really. So cool seeing her. And yeah, I thought they did a really good job mixing in the the legends and the current stars, and again getting some some legends you don't usually see all the time.
Yeah, and so then I knew that Jeff Hardy retained the Intercontinental title in a ladder match, and then Cody Rhodes and Hardcore Holly win the tag team titles that night too. So a young Cody Rhodes getting his first taste of championship gold here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also because I know one of the big matches for our next pay-per-view Armageddon was Mr. Kennedy versus Shawn Michaels. They had Marty Jannetty return to face Kennedy in a match that night.
Oh, I don't even remember that. But I actually do remember the Battle Royal where it was like IRS won, and then they had the $1 million man come and be like, get out of the ring. Here's $100. So IRS took the money, and Ted DiBiase wins.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this. Looking here again. This talk about like I said, you talk about legends you rarely ever see. Here's all who was in that battle royal. It was IRS who you said won, Sergeant Slaughter, Al Snow, I don't remember the last time we saw him on ECW. Bart Gunn, Doink the Clown, who I believe that was actually Matt Bourne, returning under the makeup. The Repo Man, Steve Blackman, Pete Gas, Bob Backlund, The Goon, Skinner, Flash Funk, Scotty 2 Hotty, Jim Neidhart, and Gilbert.
What a Raw Battle Royale. Oh, and one more thing, too. So when Santino Marella came out and he said, I challenge anybody any former Intercontinental champion to a match, I just started screaming out. I was like, RVD, RVD. And when the music hit, my friend was like, oh my God, you called it. I was like, wow. I was like, there's nobody else that could have got it. I was like, it's got to be RVD, who else?
Right. Yeah, that was, like I said, that's good. And then, of course, you had the end there where the whole, throughout the whole show, they were going to do a thing where they were going to reveal, the greatest Raw superstar of all time. And then Vince comes out to make that reveal. And he just announces that the greatest superstar in Raw history is himself. So that was fun. And then, of course, he gets beat up by Mick Foley, who comes out as Mankind. Then Undertaker takes him out, and then of course, like you said, Austin comes out, and then they do a whole big beer bash at the end where everybody comes out. And kind of funny if you notice, I know they show them a few times while everybody's drinking beer. I believe Punk and William Regal are both drinking Cokes, because I know obviously Punk's obviously straight edge, so he doesn't drink alcohol, and I think Regal, having dealt with his drug and alcohol issues, is obviously sober, so he didn't want to screw that up. So I always thought that was fun. But yeah, really, really fun Raw.
Yeah, and a very good week for WWE here. So we have our next show. It's December 11th, 2007. They're live in Boston here tonight because they've been in the Northeast. Last night they were in the night before they were in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So here they are in Boston. And we are on the go home to Armageddon. And we have kicking off tonight CM Punk and Kane versus Deuce and Domino. It's been announced that it'll be CM Punk and Kane in a tag team match versus Big Daddy V and Mark Henry. And I thought right away they were going with this to CM Punk and Kane versus Big Daddy V and Mark Henry tonight, but they're going for it at Armageddon, so they're saving it. Instead, we get Deuce and Domino. Kicks to Domino, elbow by Kane, running knee and bulldog to Domino. Domino counters a flying elbow by Punk, flying forearm to Punk, clothesline by Domino. Domino goes to the outside, big boot to Kane, backdrop to Domino. a big boot to Deuce, a flying clothesline to Domino, a GTS to Deuce, and a choke slam to Domino for the win. For this matchup, I gave it 2 stars. It's a fun way to kick off ECW and to prove that CM Punk and Kane will be a dominant tag team. And will they be dominant enough to take on Big Daddy V and Mark Henry at Armageddon? So I went 2 stars on it.
I went 1.5 stars. Talk about a quick rise and fall they're producing Domino. They, were the tag team champions on SmackDown for most of 07, and now they're having to come here and put over Punk and Kane on the way to their big match at Armageddon. I thought it was, again, decent little tag match. I've always thought Deuce and Domino were a really good team. They just never got enough traction as a team. And, Punk and Kane have some, obviously, work the big man, little man dynamic very well. You knew they were going to get the win to go into Armageddon, but again, your ECW champion, what he is on the pay-per-view, not defending the title, and is, again, like I said, the 4th man in this feud against Big Daddy V and Mark Henry. So it's like, again, I brought up the question earlier: is Punk's reign kind of starting to be on fumes here as we come out of 2007, and how much longer is he going to be into 2008 as champion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll have to see what they do with Punk here, if they are going to end his title reign, or are they going to give him more time in ECW as we get into 08, like you said, and give him a Royal Rumble challenger or something. Shelton Benjamin is backstage, and he talks to the fans about gold. Shelton Benjamin says he wants gold in ECW, so Shelton Benjamin can be a contender for CM Punk's ECW title. We'll see.
Well, it seems like they're building him that way. I mean, I think this is where he starts calling himself the gold standard. So
the gold standard.
I mean, Punk needs challengers, so Shelton's as good of a choice as anybody.
Mm-hmm. I don't see Shelton as a heel, but he has been a heel before, like when he became the Intercontinental Champion from Flair here. I just always thought of him as like the baby face, Yeah,
I mean, he's a kind of good arrogant asshole heel. So I think it works fine here.
Yep. So now we have, and Steve, I think this might be a ECW match of the year candidate for me, because I really enjoyed this match. It's The Miz and John Morrison versus Jimmy Wang Yang. Yeah, I got that wrong. Jimmy Wang Yang and Shannon Moore. The weirdest tag team duo ever. They have gone through so many phases with Shannon Moore, and this is even weirder. Like, he starts off as just a Matt Hardy's version 1 tag team partner, or like assistant, basically, little version 1 person. Then he goes into like this punk gimmick goth kid, and now he's Jimmy Wang Yang's partner in cowboy trunks. This match really surprised me. Let me get into it. So Shannon slaps Miz, swinging neck breaker to Miz, dropkick by Yang, backflip splash to Morrison, knees to Morrison's back, double team by Yang and Shannon. Morrison goes into the post. Double moonsaults by Yang and Shannon. Spinning heel kick to Miz. Miz throws Shannon off the top rope. Clothesline to Shannon by Miz. Face plant by Miz and Morrison. Backdrop to Miz. Tag to Yang. Clothesline to Morrison. Monkey flip. Face first goes Morrison from Yang. Yang lands on his feet from doing a moonsault. Shannon stops Morrison from using the ropes. Miz throws Shannon into the steps. A corkscrew neck breaker for the win by Morrison to Yang. For this matchup, Steve, I went 2 3/4 stars. I really enjoyed this match. This match was pure entertainment, and I was surprised from Shannon that he was getting all of this offense in, and the double moonsaults, and a lot came out of Yang here as well. So I went 2 3/4.
I went 2.5. It was a really good tag match. With the cruiserweight title no longer being a thing on SmackDown, these guys need something to do. So you put them as a tag team and let them kind of fill the tag division. And you're right, they had some good chemistry together. Miz and Morrison, like I said, have been really growing as a team. I thought Yang and Moore were good. Kind of fodder for them. Kind of interesting because you go into this match thinking that Miz and Morrison are going to just kind of clean these guys out because that's all Moore and Yang have been doing over these last few weeks is jobbing to everybody. But instead, we get a really good back and forth tag match here. We get a double heat segment from Miz and Morrison, and then really good hot comeback there. Yang, that moonsault, he got a lot of height on that when he landed on his feet. I got kind of nervous there for a second, but then Miz and Morrison are able to kind of use their advantage as since they've been a team longer and able to get the win here. So yeah, really good tag match. Another good solid win to establish Miz and Morrison. And it's funny. One of the things we've talked about over these, these episodes is the repetitiveness of some of these matches. So I hope you're ready, Gruney, because this is not going to be the last time we see these two teams together.
Yeah, but for the first time with them going up against each other, this was a crazy match, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, almost kind of weird too, considering it was non-title. That they did not give Yang and Moore the upset win to maybe build towards a future title shot. Kind of again weird that they had Miz and Morrison get the win here, but like I said, I think they knew there was something here with these two teams that this would not be the last time that they would face each other.
So now we have a Kofi Kingston promo. These early vignettes of Kofi Kingston making his way onto the scene in professional wrestling. He's been down in the FCW Florida Championship Wrestling. Him and Sheamus, I think, were together wrestling in FCW for a while.
Yeah, it's crazy. You almost forget how long Kofi's been around. I mean, we're in real time here in 2024, they're talking about they're about to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the New Day, and that was 2014. And Kofi's been around since 2000. I mean, he's going to make his. Yeah, well, this is when we first hear about him, but it's crazy to remember that they first portrayed him as being from Jamaica, and I mean, I'll give him credit though. He's got he did the Jamaican accent really good. But yeah, I think it's again, another, and this is, I think, what we're going to see as we go into 2008 and eventually see more so in 09, how ECW becomes really the stepping stone brand for these guys coming up from like Florida or OVW, where they're going to, they're going to be on TV. They're going to kind of build their name, build their characters, build their identity. And then eventually get to where they're going to go to either Raw or SmackDown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it felt like what ECW on Sci-Fi becomes, it felt like, well, if you get past ECW, you can make it to Raw and SmackDown. It's like NXT now. If you get to an NXT level, put on a great performance here and there, but you got to show yourself. You can make it to the Raw and SmackDown locker rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget when Triple H called out Kofi Kingston and asked him, "Aren't you Jamaican? What happened to your accent?"
Well, there was also that I don't remember when exactly it was, but do you remember the time when the New Day did the whole thing where they went in the time machine and went back in time in quotes?
Yeah.
And they had Kofi come out. He did the Jamaican accent again, so it's kind of funny remembering that.
Yeah. So now we have a 2-on-1 handicap match. It's Kelly versus Layla and Victoria. So we're seeing more of Victoria on ECW. She is helping Layla here tonight. It's interesting how the Miz, they're still portraying this as the Miz owns Kelly's contract, and he can force Kelly to compete and stuff like that,
and yet he's nowhere to be found in this.
Yeah, and nor is Armando Estrada too. He hasn't even been on for like for this. He's not on this show, and he wasn't on our last show, Steve.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when was the last time we did see him.
No, yeah. I mean, I think like it was in the back, like when he was making that tag team match of the Miz and Morrison versus Punk, and I forget who his partner was, but he's been on and off ever since, really.
Well, if you miss seeing them, you're gonna go. We're gonna get a lot of them in 08, so that's something to look forward to.
Elbows to Layla and Victoria. Tilt-a-whirl head scissors to Victoria. Leg drop by Layla. Victoria throws Layla on top of Kelly. Layla clotheslines Victoria by accident. Suplex by Kelly. A spinning kick to Kelly's head for the win by Layla. This matchup, I went a star and a quarter. It was good. Good dominance by Victoria and Layla. Weird way to end the match as it's just a kick to the head. The tilt-a-whirl, like Hurricanrana versus tilt-a-whirl head scissors, it was better than it was against in the mixed tag team match, Steve.
Yeah, I went a star. Definitely a definite upgrade from the debacle between Kelly and Layla that we saw 2 weeks ago. So there is that. You notice Kelly had the mesh like Boston Red Sox David Ortiz jersey on, obviously because they were in Boston, and plus Boston that November had just won their second World Series in 4 years when they swept the Rockies.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, they were still obviously riding high on that. It did confuse me why Kelly was put in a handicap match. Obviously, if then I realized, like you said, the whole thing with the Miz. So, because I was like, why is nobody coming out to help Kelly? So, but again, she did hold her own. Before that roundhouse kick from Layla that finished it, Victoria gave Kelly a really a stiff knee right to the head. That I thought that was the end of it. It's not the level of when we saw back at Halloween Havoc this year when Stephanie Vacure gave Cora Jade a concussion with her knee to the head. Wow. But still pretty bad. But then Kelly, Layla finishes it off, and then finally somebody does come out. I don't know if you mentioned it that Michelle McCool comes out at the end to help Kelly. So looks like this feud with Kelly and Layla has each of them now have an ally.
Yeah, Michelle McCool comes out. Michelle McCool was sporting a black eye, and I was wondering if like Victoria gave that to her, because even Victoria points to her eye like mocking Michelle, and I was like, I wonder if Victoria gave her that black eye by accident.
Maybe. I know that. Well, this was also around the same time when they were doing the whole thing where she was like in the middle of the thing with Chuck Palumbo and Jamie Noble too. So maybe maybe it happened there. Maybe it happened amongst that.
I forgot that Chuck Palumbo was also in on SmackDown in 2007 as a biker gimmick.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, because it's like that was his like real life passion was bikes. So they kind of he incorporated that into his character.
Wonder if we have to thank Chuck Palumbo for getting Michelle McCool and The Undertaker together. Oh man. We have like I said, we have the Raw 50th anniversary recap, and then we have Matt Striker. He's backstage with Mark Henry and Big Daddy V. He says Kane's path of destruction will be done in Armageddon. Henry tells Punk that the Silverback, yeah. I was like, something. The Silverback is going to destroy you, basically. And he's like telling CM Punk to run, but we all know that Punk's not going to run away.
Yeah, well, Stryker had a quote. I cannot believe he got away with saying this, and I don't remember what exactly how he said it, but he's like, "I'm standing here between these two mountains of ebony greatness." Like, did he really just say that?
Oh Jesus!
I cannot believe that he got away with that. So that just.
And now we have, so if you thought Elijah Burke went missing, look no further and you'll find him. Elijah Burke is going to take on Batista in our main event as Batista gets ready for his triple threat match at Armageddon. It's Batista versus Edge versus Undertaker for the World Heavyweight title. Like you said, Shawn Michaels versus Mr. Kennedy, and Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton for the WWE title on the line. And we have this tag team match between Mark Henry and Big Daddy V versus Kane and CM Punk. So, seems like a good card. Burke dodges a clothesline, knee to Batista, Batista's head, and Batista goes into the post, kick to Batista, DDT to Batista, clothesline to Batista, a spine buster to Elijah. Elijah Burke is going for the Elijah Express, but he gets speared, and a Batista bomb for the win. For this matchup, I went 2 1/4, and I should also mention that Elijah Burke did cut a promo saying that tonight Batista will feel the Elijah experience. So, very good, strong promo still from Elijah Burke here. But I went 2 1/4. It was fun. It was fine, a little bit quick because they were the main event, and it was a little time consumption. So short on time here for 2 1/4.
I went 1.5. Yeah, so Burke had been on SmackDown the previous week, and Batista beat him in the match there, so that's why they have the rematch here. Yeah, kind of random though to have the world champion here on ECW, just to pipe up the triple threat match at Armageddon, like you said. And I mean, they had again decent back and forth. Burke got a few shots in, but he pretty much he gets dominated here by Batista. Yeah, I did like that counter where Burke goes for the Elijah experience, but then Batista catches him with that nasty spear, and then finishing him off with the Batista bomb. So yeah, Burke again now as we kind of directionless. It seems like I said that's brief alliance with Shelton's over, and now he just seems to be kind of similar to Kevin Thorne, a man without direction.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens to Elijah Burke here as well as we get into 2008 as well. Well, that's going to do it from us for covering the shows on ECW. But Steve, do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
So you can usually find me over on the PTB Pop Experience. I have Pop Goes to Classics, where myself, Andy, and Miranda are going through all the Disney animated films. Our most recent episode, we discussed The Princess and the Frog, which was a lot of fun because that's one of my favorite films. And that closes out our the 2000s. So our next episode, we're going to be going into starting up the 2010s, which definitely has a murderer's row of great films. So that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Also to have Mount Rushmore and the Video Jukebox Song of the Day. Those are still going strong, so please listen to those. I did make an appearance recently on your other pod here on the Wrestling Feed, Nation Invasion, where we live watched Unforgiven 2001. That was a lot of fun to do. So please listen to that. I also do appear occasionally over on North-South Connection with Cronoso, both on the podcast feed and on their YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed to them, please do so. And also, please give some love to our friends over at Backbone Wrestling. They have a lot of great pods over there. And, of course, be sure to find me over on the PTB Facebook group. Lots of good stuff over there. And our tournament for the summer has come to an end. And to probably the shock of not a lot of people, we did crown the greatest cartoon of all time, which was, in fact, The Simpsons. That's now the third tournament that they've won. Of course, for those that remember, way back, we did a greatest TV characters tournament, which was won by Homer Simpson. Then The Simpsons itself actually won our greatest sitcom of all time tournament from a few years ago. Now they run the trifecta here with by being named the greatest cartoon of all time. So thanks again to everybody that came out and voted. It was a lot of fun. Not sure when the next tournament will be and what it will entail, but just keep an eye on the PTB Facebook group because that's usually where you'll find out first.
Yep. So just keep on voting whenever there's a polls. I love when you do the polls because, you're 3 hours behind us, so it's like noon for me. I was like, oh, it's time for the polls because I know it's like it's 9 a.m. or like 10 a.m. So you're giving out those polls early on your time frame. So I was like, oh, time to vote at 12 o'clock on the dot. Yeah, I think towards like the end, I was like, well, obviously, I think the Simpsons are going to win, but I think like getting into like the Elite Eight, there was like a surprise shock, and I was like, oh, this one should have won, and I was like, oh, not this one,
Well, the shock for me was the fact that that X-Men the animated series defeated South Park.
Yeah,
I could not believe that happened.
Yeah, that was a shocker too. Yep. As for me, like you said, Steve, you can find me mostly on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed. I have this show and, like you said, Nation Invasion, where we just watched Unforgiven 2001. That was a great card. We saw the end of Chronic. Kurt Angle beats Stone Cold for the WWF title. The Rock retains against Booker T and Shane McMahon for the WCW title. So the WWF has an edge over the Alliance. We'll see what happens as we head into the month of October 2001 on to No Mercy. And I also have a show on the Place to Be Nation pop feed as well. It is called Whatever It Takes, a Degrassi pod with John Casalica. We just dropped episodes 9 and 10 of Degrassi The Next Generation. In episode 9 is called Coming of Age. Ashley thinks that Jimmy is suffocating her and wants to break up, but she doesn't know what Jimmy's home life is like until she goes over there for his birthday. And then in episode 10, called Rumors and Reputations, Emma sees Mr. Armstrong help Liberty, but is it more than just helping her? Also, Spinner finds a bug in his cafeteria food, but does he have the proof to know that the bug came from the cafeteria food? So a lot of interesting topics, like learning a lot of school lesson of the week here episodes, but we'll see what happens as we trickle along in Degrassi Next Generation Season 1. Well, that's going to do it from us here tonight on Extreme Resurrection. I'm James Gruenberg. He's Steve Riddle, and we will see you next time.